afternoon, everyone. All right. Gosh, wake up. It's the evening. And you know I debated. I thought, okay, evening. Can we please silence all electronics? My name is Sherry Williams, and I'll be your moderator for this class. Welcome to the Institute of Divine Metaphysical Research. This is a school and not a church, and neither are we affiliated with any religious organization. This school is a nonprofit, non-denominational, religious and scientific research organization dedicated to showing proof of the existence of Yahweh, our Elohim, and the operation of his eternal purpose, pattern, and plan, operating throughout eternity to this present day. This school was established as a result of a divine vision and revelation given to our founder, Dr. Henry Clifford Kinley, in the state of Ohio in the year 1931. We were incorporated in the state of California in the year 1958. We hold classes throughout the United States, Canada, and certain other foreign countries. This Tampa class was established in 1958. 1996. At this time, we would like to introduce to you the dean of this class, Dr. Joel Turner, and the president, Dr. Cynthia Smith. In this school, we use the true, correct, and original name and title of the Father, the Word or Son, and the Holy Spirit, which are contained in the original Hebrew text. The true name of our Heavenly Father is Yahweh. It has been improperly substituted by Lord. The true title of the Word or Son is Elohim. It has been improperly substituted by God. The name of the Holy Spirit, manifested in or out of a physical body, is Yahshua. It has been erroneously substituted by Jesus Christ. Lord and God are titles and not names. The Apostle Paul, filled with the Holy Spirit, tells us in 1 Corinthians 8:5 that there are Lords many and gods many. But we now know that each Lord must have a name and each God must have a name also. Elohim is a title, but unlike Lord and God, Elohim is a divine title. This means that Elohim is the title our Creator chose for himself. Jesus is a name, but it is an erroneous name. A minor investigation on your part into a good dictionary or encyclopedia would prove that neither the Hebrew language, the Greek language, nor the Latin language have any letters or characters in their alphabet that would produce the sound that is made by the letter J. Neither was there a letter J in the English language until some 1400 years after the death of the Messiah. Therefore, making such names as Jesus and Jehovah impossible renderings of the true and original name of our Father and his Son. Christ is a title, just like Lord and God. Yahweh is pure spirit, and in this state he is incomprehensible and inscrutable. He is the ultimate source, substance, limits, and bounds of everything. We have Yahweh in his pure spirit state, symbolized on this chart as a cloud. Yahweh is not a cloud. He merely chose a cloud to symbolize himself, because a cloud has no particular or descriptive shape or form. We have drawn this cloud all around the edges of this chart to show you that everything on this chart is within the cloud. In like manner, everything in the universe abides within the pure spirit state of Yahweh. Yahweh, knowing that man could not perceive of him in his pure spirit state, took on shape and took on form right within himself as Yahweh Elohim. This is the Word or Son, a superincorporeal being, that is, having the shape and form of a man, but without flesh and blood. This form could only be seen in divine visions and understood in divine revelations. Later on, this self-same Spirit manifested himself in a physical body and walked the earth plane as Yahshua the Messiah, whom the world calls Jesus Christ. Now there is only one name given unto salvation, and we must know that name. So the simple yet intelligent question we should all ask ourselves is, What was the name of the Savior during the time he walked the earth plane? A further understanding of this name and title may be had by reading the preface to the Holy Name Bible. Also in this school, we teach by the divine pattern of the universe. It is called a divine pattern because it is Yahweh's pattern. After Yahweh led the children of Israel out of Egypt, he called Moses atop Mount Sinai and showed him the tabernacle pattern in a vision. Yahweh instructed Moses to build one exactly like it in the wilderness of Sinai. This pattern consists of a most holy place, a holy place, and a court round about. These three compartments make up the one tabernacle pattern. We go about in this school to show proof how that everything in the universe is made and operates according to the structure and function of this threefold tabernacle pattern, and absolutely nothing escapes the pattern. Also in this school, we have 10 primary constitutional aims or objectives, and they are as follows. First is to help you find and know Yahweh, our Elohim, as he really is and actually exists. Second is to form a nucleus of universal brotherhood of humanity in Yahshua the Messiah, without distinction of race, nationality, creed, sex, caste, or color. Third is to investigate the unexplained spirit law, or so-called law of nature, and the powers latent in man. Fourth is to encourage and promote the study of the scriptures, comparative religions, psychology, philosophy, and modern, practical, and occult science. Fifth is to extirpate current superstition, skepticism, and ignorance. Sixth is to learn, know, and understand the operation of Yahweh's eternal purpose through the dispensations and ages. Seventh is to discern and avoid being deceived by Lucifer, the serpent, the devil, the dragon, or Satan and his demons, operating the mystery of iniquity on earth through the dispensations of time. Eighth is to earnestly contend for the common salvation and faith which was once delivered unto the sons or children of Yahweh. Ninth is to make known that Yahweh from the beginning ordained there is no other name given among men whereby man can be saved, saving the name of Yahshua the Messiah. And 10th is to inherit eternal life now in the kingdom of Yahshua the Messiah, with the hope of immortal glorification in the new earth state. Our watchword is peace, and our slogan is speak the truth. We'll have class dedicated in prayer this evening by Dr. Denise Hawkins, followed by our scripture lesson, which is Genesis chapters 4 and 5, read by Dr. Cynthia Smith. Okay, and a song. Yes.
Let us all bow our hearts and minds and thank Yahshua for giving us the great gift of allowing us to come to a knowledge of Him and His purpose. And let us realize how special of a gift that it is that we have received. Just be thankful every day that He brought you here. And with that, let us all say hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Good evening. I'll be reading from the Holy Name Bible containing the Holy Name versions of the Old and New Testaments, critically compared with ancient authorities and various manuscripts revised by A.B. Trainer of the Scripture Research Association. Genesis, the 4th and 5th chapter. And the man knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived, and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from Yahweh. And she and she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of the sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And it came to pass in the end of those days that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto Yahweh. And Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock of their fat. And Yahweh had respect unto Abel and to his offering, but unto Cain and to his offering he had no respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And Yahweh said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, and thou shalt be exalted, and if thou doest it not well, sin offering lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. And Cain talked with Abel his brother. And it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and slew him. And Yahweh said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood cried unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the ground, which had opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A wanderer shalt thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto Yahweh, My iniquity is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the ground, and from thy face shall I be hid. And I shall be a fugitive and a wanderer in the earth. And it shall come to pass that every one that findeth me shall slay me. And Yahweh said unto him, Therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And Yahweh set the mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. And Cain went out from the presence of Yahweh, and dwelt in the land of Nod, on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived, and bare Enoch. And he builded a city, and called the name of the city after the name of his son, Enoch. And Enoch was born Iraq, and Iraq begat Mishujael, and Mishujael begat Methuselah, and Methuselah begat Lamech. And Lamech took unto him 2 wives, and the name of those was Adah, and the name of the other was Zillah. And Adah bare Jabal. He was the father of such as dwell in tents, and of such as have cattle. And his brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all such as handle the harp and organ. And Zillah, she also bare, oh, you gotta be kidding me, Tubal Cain, an instructor of every artificial in copper and iron. And the sister of Tubal Cain was Naamah. And Lamech said unto his wives, Adah and Zillah, Hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech. Hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man for wounding me, and a young man for bruising me. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, and called his name Seth. For Elohim said, she had appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slew. And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enosh. Then began men to call themselves by the name of Yahweh. 5th chapter. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that Elohim created man, in the likeness of Elohim made he him. Male and female created he them, and blessed them and called their name Adam. And in the day when they were created, and Adam lived 130 years, and begat a son in his own likeness after his image, and called his name Seth. And the days of Adam after he begotten Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. And Seth lived 105 years, and begat Enosh. And Seth lived after he begat Enosh 807 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. And Enosh lived 90 years, and begat Canaan. And Enosh lived after he begat Canaan 815 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Enosh were 905 years, and he died. And Canaan lived 70 years, and begat Mahalalel. And Canaan lived, after he begat Mahalalel, 840 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Canaan were 910 years, and he died. And Mahalalel lived 75 years, and begat Jared. And Mahalalel lived, after he begat Jared, 830 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Mahalalel were 895 years, and he died. And Jared lived 172 years, and begat Enoch. And Jared lived after he begat Enoch 800 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all of the days of Jared were 970 years, and all the days of Jared were 972 years, and he died. And Enoch lived 75 years.
70 or 60?
Oh, 60, I'm sorry. And Enoch lived 65 years, and begat Methuselah. And Enoch walked with Elohim after he begat Methuselah 300 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years. And Enoch walked with Elohim, and he was not, for Elohim took him. And Methuselah lived 187 years, and begat Lamech. And Methuselah lived, after he begat Lamech, 782 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. And Lamech lived 182 years, and begat sons. And he called his name Noah, saying, This same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil, us concerning our work. Start over. And he called his name Noah, saying, This same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because of the ground which Yahweh had cursed. And Lamech lived, after he begat Noah, 595 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. And Noah was 500 years old. And Noah begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Genesis, the 4th and 5th chapter. Oh,
There's one down there. Yeah. And our first speaker this evening will be Dr. LaTara Burley.
This one, right?
Anywhere in your pocket or something.
Alrighty. Good evening. Oh, okay. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna use a pointer. I think I'm gonna be here that long. Glad to be here. So a couple things has been on my mind. See if I have it in my folder. It's a lot in Genesis. It's a lot. Let's see. I don't know if I got my thing here. Hold on one second. I'm kind of unprepared. I didn't know if I was going to get called. Okay, there we go. Couple things that have been on my mind was well, we come here and Yahweh is constantly revealing things to us, and I love when we go back, like in the beginning, to Genesis and Exodus and to the law, because you go over stuff, but you don't really grasp certain things, and you just have to keep going over and over it again, and you always see something that you never saw when you keep reading and reading. So let's go to Exodus, the 34th chapter, and start at 30.
Exodus 34 and 30. And when Aaron and all the children of Israel saw Moses, behold, the skin of his face shone, and they were afraid to come nigh him. And Moses,
Go ahead.
and Moses called unto them, and Aaron and all the rulers of the congregation returned unto him, and Moses talked with them. And afterward all the children of Israel came nigh, and he gave them in commandment all that Yahweh had spoken with him in Mount Sinai. Until Moses had done speaking with them, he put a veil on his face.
Now, there you see Moses being called up here in the mount, and he's speaking with Yahweh, and he's really seeing, well, he can't see Yahweh's face, but he's seeing the glory of Yahweh. Yahweh has turned his back towards him, but just by Yahweh turning his back towards him, he's still seeing that glory of Yahweh. So his face is shining, his face is lit, and keep reading there.
34.
Go ahead.
But when Moses went in before Yahweh to speak with him, he took the veil off until he came out. And he came out and spake unto the children of Israel that which he was commanded. And the children of Israel saw the face of Moses, that the skin of Moses' face shone. And Moses put the veil upon his face again until he went in to speak with him. And Moses gathered all the congregation of the children of Israel together, and said unto them, These are the words which Yahweh hath commanded, that ye should do them.
So there you see Moses, the children of Israel couldn't take it. They couldn't stand to see this. It frightened them to see this Moses' face shone, and it was lit up, and it's a beautiful thing, because when we come down here, we learn that the world out here, like, they can't understand what we have in this class. They can't understand this gospel, and when you go and you try to talk to somebody, it's like it's like their mind, their carnal mind can't understand it, so they can't take it. They can't, they kind of want to show you away, like, don't talk to me, I don't want to hear. It's something foreign, something I don't understand. So, let's go to what is it? Isaiah. Go to Isaiah, the 25th chapter, and start at 7.
$25 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering
Was that
cast over all
Isaiah?
the people, and the veil that is spread over all nations.
Okay, and here we got. I'm looking at this veil that I see, and it's a veil that has been put over from here, from the tabernacle powder, all the way through the ages and dispensations, and it's really, you can look at it physically and you can look at it spiritually. And physically, you can see that it was a physical veil that was put right here over Moses' face when he was talking to the children of Israel. And spiritually, you can see that what it was. Go ahead. Start at what you was reading there.
And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations.
The veil that is spread over all nations is the gospel that has been hidden, and you come to realize that people are, the veil is like it down here at this end of this age. It has been revealed to us. It has been taken up. If you go back to the tabernacle pattern, and when Yahshua died and he rose, his death, burial, and resurrection. The veil was, the temple was ripped in twine, was ripped in two. So that veil has been taken down, and now we can be able to see this gospel. We can be able to see Yahweh and see that glory, because before then, men, they didn't know. They didn't have an understanding. They couldn't take what this gospel, how can I explain it? It was I'm lost for words right now. They couldn't comprehend it. They couldn't understand why. And then when you go to let's see, is it Matthew? Let's go to Matthew, the 17th chapter. It's hard to kind of like put words, like I know like how to. In my mind, I think I know how to say it, but it's hard, like when you get on the floor and try to explain it and try to bring it out. So hopefully Yahshua will give me the words to just, say what I mean. Matthew, yeah.
Matthew 17 and 1. And after 6 days, Yahshua taketh Peter, James, and John, his brother, and bringeth them up to a high mountain apart.
And that was in fulfillment of what happened back here with Moses when he brought Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu up to the mount. And Nadab, Moses, Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, weren't they like a brother, a father and a son? And then you go over here with Yahshua when he brings Peter, James, and John. Aren't they related? So that's in fulfillment of what they sing back here. Keep reading.
And was transfigured before them. His face did shine as the sun.
And his face did shine. He was transfigured before him, same as Moses did when he went up to the mount. That he was not really, he wasn't transfigured, but he seen the glory of Yahweh, and his face did shine. And that's when Yahshua come down here, and he has to fulfill everything. So of course he has to take them up to the mount, and of course he had to transfigure before him, before them. Keep reading.
And his raiment was white as the light. 3. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elijah talking with him.
And Moses and Elijah, and Moses wrote of him. It's said in the scriptures that if you believe Moses, you will believe me, for Moses wrote of me. And John, John, in the Holy Name Bible said the immerser, but the Baptist, he called Joshua out to be the Lamb of Yahweh, and he wrote of him. He was talking about Joshua. Keep reading.
And then answered Peter and said unto Joshua, Sire, it is good for us to be here. If thou wilt let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for thee, and one for Moses, and one for Elijah. While he yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them. And behold, a voice out of the cloud which said, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him.
And didn't Yahweh speak to the children of Israel back here in Exodus? And keep reading there.
And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their faces and were greatly frightened.
And they were frightened. And didn't Yahweh speak to the children of Israel? And they were frightened. They shook. We don't want Yahweh to speak to us. We want you to speak to Yahweh. And Yahweh will speak to you, and you speak to us. So that's in fulfillment of everything that's going on back here in the law. And it's like, I love going back here because you keep reading over and over again, and you have to go precept upon precept, and you have to, it's all about repetition. That's how we learn. And you always pick up something that you never ever seen, and it's like, for real, like it's like a slap in the face. Like you think you speed reading, but no, you got to slow it down and take your time and see what the things that Yahweh is trying to show you. Keep reading. That's it. Is that?
And Joshua came and touched them and said, Arise and be not afraid. And you want me to keep going?
No, I think that's it. Let's go to did I call Isaiah? I will call Isaiah. Let's go to Acts, the 2nd chapter.
Acts 2:1. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them.
I think it was. Did I call that right? I don't know if that was Acts, the 2nd chapter. I think it was, might be, I said Isaiah 24. Go to Matthew, the 17th chapter. You just read that? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. 2 Corinthians, the 3rd.
That's all right. 2 Corinthians 3rd.
Yeah. And, yeah.
Start at 1. 2 Corinthians 3:1. Do we begin again to commend ourselves, or need we, as some others, epistles of condemnation to you, or letters of condemnation from you? Ye are our epistle written in our hearts, known and read of all men. For as much as ye are manifestly declared to be the epistle of the Messiah, ministered by us, written.
Skip down. Yeah, I was trying to see.
Seeing then that we have such hope, we use great plainness of speech. And that is Moses, which put a veil over his face, that the children of Israel could not steadfastly look to the end of that which is abolished.
And right there you see that right here in 2 Corinthians talking about not they use plainness, they use great plainness of speech, and this gospel is not hard. Well, to the world it might be hard, but Yahweh uses the simple things to try to get us to understand. It's like, the tabernacle pattern, we go 1, 2, 3. It's like 1, 2, 3, head cavity, chest cavity, abdominal cavity, and it's not like big words that you can't pronounce. Like everybody's in here is scholars or something like that. Like Yahweh used the simple things for you can understand, even a baby can understand, even a child can understand. And my child, when we go home, she actually say things that I don't even know. I didn't even think that she was paying attention. But Brianna, she goes and she just, out of the blue just blurts some stuff out, and I'm like, where did that come from? But but kids, they know, they understand. Like my child, it can't understand this, and even my 3-year-old London, she says things like, that's Yahweh, or that's Yahweh Elohim, like that. And I'm like, I'm thankful because if my child can understand and see things like that, to me, I'm thankful for that. That's a blessing. He don't use, like I said, what the world would call being intelligent. It's the plainness of this gospel that Yahweh uses to show us these things. But everybody can't grasp it. Everybody can't understand it. Is that it right there? Let's keep reading.
Moses again with his
Keep
veil.
reading.
And not as Moses, which put a veil over his face, that the children of Israel could not steadfastly look to the end of that which is abolished. But their minds were blinded. For until this day remaineth the same veil untaken away in the reading of the Old Testament, which veil is done away in the Messiah.
And that's you have to go back to the law. You have to go back to the Old Testament to understand what Yahweh's purpose is and what Yahweh is trying to tell you and trying to show you. But to the rest of the world, they're like, oh, that's the Old Testament. That's the old God. That's the old Hebrew name. We don't need that. We're in the New Testament. We're in the new law. Well, what was this for? What was the purpose of Yahweh putting that in the book? Is just to have a whole bunch of pages, just to waste some ink? No, it's for our purpose. It's for our learning. It's talking about us, this being our schoolmaster. And Isaiah 8:20 tells us, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to his word, is no light in it. So we have to use those tools to understand Yahshua. We have to use those tools to understand his purpose, his pattern, his plan, and what's going on. Because anybody can come. That's just like if anybody can come and tell you anything, but they don't have no proof, they have no evidence, then it's like they can lead you anywhere. So, they can be like, hey, it's $1 million over there. And you go over there and you see a crocodile or a tiger or something waiting on you. You be like, well, you said it was $1 million over there. It's like, well, hey, I told you so. Go ahead. Keep.
But even unto this day, when Moses is read, the veil is upon their heart. Nevertheless, when it shall turn to Yahweh, the veil shall be taken away.
When you turn to Yahweh, the veil shall be taken away, and that's that covering. That's what's been hidden throughout the dispensation, throughout the world. These ages, it has been covered. But if you turn to Yahweh, that veil should be covered away. But Yahweh giving you the things that you need to use to uncover this veil. Keep reading.
Now, Yahshua is that spirit. And where the spirit of Yahweh is, there is liberty. But we all, with open face, beholding as in a glass the splendor of Yahweh, are changed into the same image from splendor to splendor, even as by the spirit of Yahweh.
Go to Luke the 23rd. And I don't consider myself to be like a great speaker. I'm just trying to show somebody something what Yahweh showed me with the little that I do know. So I won't be up here, trying to impress nobody. Go to Luke 23rd and start at I think it's 15. I want to say. No, start at I want to say start at 43.
43. Luke 23 and 43. And Joshua said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, in that day thou shalt be with me in the glory. And it was about the 6th hour, and there were darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was torn in the midst.
That's when Yahshua told them that he would destroy the temple and build it back up. And that veil, when that sun was darkened, that veil was torn in two, and that's the veil of the temple. And now we can be able to see Yahweh, or see the glory of Yahweh through Yahshua the Messiah. And it's just the beauty of this gospel is that Yahweh, these things were hidden for many ages, and now that we have a chance to see Yahweh and to see Yahshua, is I can't explain it. My words they're not escaping me right now. It's just I can't even explain it. That's the beauty of it. I guess I could just say that, like, it's beauty in seeing something that your Creator has put forth for you to understand Him, when before you didn't understand nothing about your Creator. You didn't even know, I didn't even know that Yahweh name, or His Son name, that we was worshiping Lord God and Jesus, and to come down here and to know that He's not going to lead us astray, that He given us like the evidence of everything of Himself, and He's giving us proof, and not just using the Bible, everything in the world pretty much. He's given us witness after witness after witness that we will not be led astray, and we can have faith in Him, and we can have faith that He will not lead us astray, and that we will, oh goodness, my words is not coming out right now, but I'm not gonna ramble on because they're not coming out right now. But Yahshua he just over and over, he just shows us, he just proved of Himself just throughout all these witnesses that this is the real deal, and this is, there's nothing else out there. And what more can you ask for than a Creator to just to love you so much that He would just show Himself unto you, and to give you all these things for eternal life. I mean, it's a blessing, because I don't think people understand how serious this is. I don't think they understand how serious this is. Like, oh goodness, Yahweh is He's just so like magnificent. He's just so, it's just so beautiful just to know that He is ever present. He is always just watching over you, and always protecting you, and showing you things, because before coming into class, you could just think about where you were outside in the world before coming into this place, and for Him to just show mercy upon you, and to just not allowing you yourself to be led into some foolishness. He showed mercy upon us to come into this place and to have a knowledge and an understanding of Him. It's so, that's why it's like I can't even put into words how much I feel like it is a blessing. And it's just so much that you just can't even grasp. Your human mind just can't even grasp how great Yahweh is. He is just, and it's not a physical thing. It's so spiritual that we can't even understand how spiritual it is. You know what I mean? It's just, our mind is just, we're so here, and He's just so, it's just like, wow. And you wanna grasp it, you wanna get it all in one, but you can't. He he gotta, take baby steps with you. He gotta slow you down, because I feel like if he was to be like, hey, Tara, I'd probably be like, so like the children of Israel, like, so he got to kind of like slow you down a little bit and take you a little at a time, because he's just so great and so glorious that we would not be able to take all that Yahweh is in this body, in this carnal mind. So I could just say that, I love coming down here, and it is a blessing, because I would have never thought that I would be here in this place. And I'm still trying to grasp like how this is a lot. Like, I mean, y'all been here, but to me it's just like it is like, wow. Like, every time I learn something, it's beautiful to me. It's a blessing. So with that, I'll just say, just keep coming down here, because it's a hot mess out there, and everybody know what's going on in the earth plane, and everything that's going on in the earth. It is a reflection of what's going on down here. And one thing I was concerned about is it's a thing now that's going on with the fake foods. I don't know if y'all heard about it. Is you got to be careful what you eat now, because they have like fake eggs, they have fake rice, they got fake chicken out now, and they're literally making fake food for humans to consume. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, physical things representing spiritual things. So the fake food that you eat out there is not really, it's causing bodily harm to your body, and it's causing all kind of cancer. But if you flip it on the spiritual side, it's fake spiritual food that's coming out, and what's going on out there is what's going on in here, and so you got to be careful of what you eat. And I say that because you got to be careful on what you eat, what's coming out on this floor. You can't eat what everybody is giving to you. You know what I mean? You can't eat that, and that fake food out there can cause harm or death to your body. So if fake food here can cause you spiritual death if you eat it. You know what I mean? So you got to be selective of what you eat. You got to be careful of who you let feed you. Pretty much, my grandma said you can't let everybody feed you. You don't go to strangers and eat on everybody's plate. So you got to be careful who you let feed you, because you don't know where that food coming from, if they're clean, if it's sanitized. You see all around Tampa these dirty restaurants be on dirty dining and stuff like that. They got roaches and stuff and all kinds of stuff in the food. So it's like spiritually, it's a lot of that food going around, and it's throughout the whole world. It's in China, a lot is in China. It's in Venezuela. They have a drought that's going on with food. It's a drought that's going on in Haiti. It's everywhere. So spiritually, it's the same what's going on here. You got to be careful, and that's just what the things that it's like. I know right now that we're at that end, because now you don't even know what you're eating, what's putting in your body, and physical things represent spiritual things. So you got to be careful. You got to watch. You got to keep your eyes open to what's going on out here. So, with that, I just say, just keep praising Yahshua, and, try to come down here, and, you got to just discern and don't let, that devil, he's working. So, we just got to be careful and just to come down here and to get whatever we can, because it's feel like the wheels that they turning real fast. Yahweh is trying to wrap this thing up. So with that, I'll just sit down my breath now. Thank you. Hallelujah. Yeah. I don't know how to take this thing. Oh, there we go.
And our next speaker this evening will be Dr. Sonia Roberts.
Okay. This is the mic. And then I can go.
Yeah, from your pocket.
Okay. Good evening, class. Okay. I had a pep talk for myself and for Tara. I think I've said it before, you know, and I was reading actually, and it was confirmation of it. Because it's funny how, you know, we may not reach out to each other every day, right? Most of us, you know, like maybe we send each other email, text, occasionally maybe, but most of us, we see each other here. But what is always beautiful and a witness to the power of Yahweh, the reality of Yahweh, is how He still has us all experiencing, He has us all on a similar journey. And it's interesting, and I don't know if He's going to let me know let me go where I was thinking, but that's fine, because that's the other part of it is, as Tara was saying, when you go back to the law and the prophets, what is really evident when you look at all of those examples is that Yahweh's will is of course being done, but that He makes sure that you know that it's Him doing it. And I was looking at that, let's see if I can think about it, and if you remember, because it was the one I was telling you about where the army was too large, and He told him, He was like, you need to get rid of some people. Yes, that's who it was. It was Gideon, right? And so the army was too large. They had like thousands. And then what he did was he took them down to 300. Is that about right? Took them down to 300. And his whole point for doing that, his whole point in all of those battles was that He wanted them to understand this wasn't about bodies. This wasn't about numbers. This was about His power, His ability to resurrect. And that's the same thing that happens when we're on this floor, because He is our teacher. And when I'm calling somebody up to the floor as a physical teacher, it's about them, you know. And now it's me checking where that student is in their understanding, but also we have something in education called metacognition, right? And if you're metacognitive about your learning, then it's your ability to understand where you are, how you learn, right? And so oftentimes when we're called up here on the floor, it's for Yahweh to help us to understand where we are, and for Him to keep working with us, because all the magic doesn't happen on the floor, if that makes sense, right? Because it's like you're up here for maybe 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, maybe an hour, but He is not limited to that time to work with you. It is just what He chooses to say to you through that time, because I've gotten up here and there have been things, and we've talked about this, there are things He wants us to say to feed the body, but to feed ourselves as well, and then it doesn't stop in that moment. Because you leave and then He continues to put questions on your mind. It's like the research is furthered. It's like this is kind of the fueling, if I can say it that way. You know, you get up here and it's like, okay, what did you take in? And then you see, and sometimes I get up here and I think I am saying nothing, you know. And it's because I'm not saying anything, but He's guiding your words. And I don't like... you know, like these classes get posted, but I don't want to go and watch myself again. And Pam was doing something. She wanted me to check something, so she asked me to watch one of them. So I had to watch myself. But it was good for me to watch myself, because what it showed me was that even though it's all jumbled for me up here, Yahweh is making it clear for people. He's connecting it in their heads. He's showing every individual what he wants to show them, and having and connecting the dots for them that he wants connected. And it may be one phrase that you say that hits home. It could be your first 5 words that send them on that journey that was meant for them, you know, or it could be the last 2 or whatever. And so it's like you come and you take a breath, and you know that this is a part of the journey. This is not the end of the road. You know, it is to get you to thinking and processing about more. Because if I can say it this way, the testimony that we give on this floor, and the testimony that we give in our life is bigger, if I can say it that way, than the few minutes that we will have on this floor. Is that okay for me to say that? Yeah. Right. Our conduct daily, our investment on a regular basis, what's going on here on a regular basis, it's bigger because there are lessons for us to learn when we are on this floor. I think I've shared with you guys before, this doesn't work. This doesn't work like school works for me, like teaching works for me. And it was important for me to understand that. And so a part of my schooling in this came getting up on this floor and understanding how this is different from carnal knowledge. It's very different. And it's not something that, like you said, we can read, like my head, like all the, this isn't like, I shouldn't say Shakespeare, but Shakespeare was easy, This is different. This is about divine revelations, So it's not like you get to go and invest a certain amount of time and then you get up here and then you're able to lay it all out. And maybe you are, but for what purpose? Like maybe you can get up here and repeat it, but personally, is that giving me the stability, the consolation that I need to move throughout this world daily? So that's why it is personal. It is very personal. And I don't want to say regardless of what you get up here and say, but no matter, I put it this way, it's not about how you feel about the testimony you gave, like, oh, I'm going to give it an A. But it's about when we leave here, has he given us all enough to keep us stable, to keep us consoled, to not have us doubting. And so that's what it's about. And we were talking about that before. When they were told to gather, it was gather enough for you, right? And so that's what it is. And with all of us, he knows how much we all need. He knows exactly what it is we need that's going to reach us. And so that is what's happening. And that is by no means where I was thinking about. But it is, if you think about the essence, right? The essence of it, the essence of this, the salvation, that's what, it's understanding that. We're giving praise to him. We're showing his power. And so in order to do that, there is a humility, and it's not one that we can have pretense about, it's real. And so you just see it, you do. Someone was saying in another class, and maybe I've heard it before, but it hadn't connected with me before. He talked about the fact that we want to make sure that we're not getting a version, but that we're getting the vision. And I thought about that, and I said, yeah. And I think that's why a lot of us, depending on how well-versed we think we are in this, are really at a point to where whether we're going back and rereading or whatever, it's important for us to understand exactly what was presented to make sure we're not getting that fake food, and that we know what is in the transcripts, that we understand how it was presented, and he's allowed you to have those witnesses so that you don't have to trust anyone else. You don't have to trust a body, and that's huge. And like you were saying, they wanted Moses to be their intercessor, essentially, but he has put us in a place where we don't have to have an intercessor, and he's provided it all for you. And I told you guys before, we didn't always have access to those transcripts, so I consider those to be such a blessing, that you're able to actually go in there and you're able to hear what he said. And if you can't read it, then you can listen to it, and you can go in the Bible and you can see, and then he brings it to life for you, and the Bible is not boring. That's the thing. And it was so funny because I don't know if it was today or yesterday, my son, he said, I was reading something to him. I was in Judges, I think. Judges is fun, right? So he said, I thought the Bible was supposed to be calm. That's what he said. And and I said, no, not always. But the peace comes in the understanding that Yahweh gives you about the significance of those events, And so that's why this is, it is beautiful. It is overwhelming, but it's kind of like, if you learn how to float, and it doesn't matter that the ocean is this wide, because you're above water and you're just enjoying it, And so, okay, so let's see. Let's go to when we look at Genesis 4 and 5, there's a lot of procreating, right? The generations, all that good stuff, people begatting. So that's what I was thinking about when these chapters were assigned, since we knew in advance. I was thinking about the process of begatting. So I was looking at reproduction, and I had actually been looking at this for a while. And before we go deep into reproduction, I want to go back, because Tara was talking about how, Yahweh really makes it where He'll have you, like you say, you'll read all these different chapters, you'll read these different transcripts, but then he'll take you back into a specific moment in time, and he'll isolate one thing and just make it stand out to you, So let's go to he was talking about these attributes. So let me see if I can find it quickly. I should have folded the page. That would have been nice. There we go. Page 14 in volume 3. And I had not, and every time I get up here, and we're really big because I had to do a lot of different kind of counseling at school, like when we counsel different groups. And so we always tell the kids, you make I statements. So making an I statement. I hadn't thought about this in a while, what he's going to say about these divine attributes. So if we look on page 14, I'll tell you where he's going to come out of. He's coming out of talking about the threefold nature. Okay, and then he's going to, and now he's getting ready to talk about how those attributes are in triads. All right, okay, go ahead. It starts each of these
triads.
Mm-hmm.
Each of these triads, having a pair which are united by a third, have therefore the power of self procreation or reproduction.
So these triads have the power of self-procreation or reproduction. So think about that. Go ahead.
Each is therefore sufficient unto itself to reproduce and bring forth offspring.
So wisdom can beget wisdom. Knowledge can beget knowledge. Go ahead.
Thus the duet of wisdom and knowledge, being bonded together by intelligence, give birth to love and justice, which are united together by beauty. This
Go ahead.
This particular phenomena displays the self-sufficiency of Yahweh. He is all in all, both masculine and feminine potencies within himself. Consequently, he doesn't have to rely on anything outside himself, for there is nothing outside of him, for he has everything within himself.
So of course we're going to be overwhelmed, right? Because here we are existing within him, and he is everything. And he has given us a pattern that encompasses everything. Okay? Go ahead.
The whole creation, with its masculine and feminine counterparts, came from him or was manifested within him. That is the reason that after Elohim had made the man, Adam, in his likeness and his image, he took the woman out of Adam's body to show the duality of Adam's makeup, which definitely gives us a visible manifestation of the makeup of Yahweh.
So, and we've talked about this recently, right? So we talked about Yahweh, Yah being the masculine, Way being the feminine, and even in the book it says that A and Adam, that E and Eve, right? And so then we talked about that's why it was important. It wasn't like Eve just surfaced separately. She had to be brought out. And then we talked about the fact that woman clothed in the sun. Well, here we have everything coming back in. I'll go here, okay? And so that is our journey, because see, that's what they start talking about with reproduction, and they start talking about with the division of the sexes. They're talking about this journey that we are taking, right? So go ahead.
In Genesis 5:2, we read that he called their name Adam, that is, while the woman was yet in the man. Elohim could not therefore have made the woman out of the dust of the earth, as he did the man, but had to take her out of Adam's body to prove that Elohim is, of whom the man is made in likeness and image, masculine and feminine within himself. We further know by scientific research and knowledge that man has recessive feminine counterparts in his body, and the woman has recessive masculine counterparts in her body.
Right. And so you, like, if you've had a boy and then they tell you, if you have a very, like, if you have a pediatrician who wants to tell you everything, right, then they'll tell you, like, well, if he was a girl, then this would have turned into this, right? And so we know that it starts the same, but depending on your gender, that's when there is a change, right? Okay, so I love this, but I know I don't, so let's go to page 15, from divine intelligence, stem wisdom and knowledge, because he's going to say wisdom is connected with the reproductive system. Go ahead.
From divine intelligence stem divine wisdom and knowledge, working as a pair and manifesting the next highest degree of excellence. Remember, each attribute is perfect within itself.
So that was what he kept reminding me of while I was reading this. Each attribute is perfect within itself. And again, like I said, when he showed you something and you get up here, like I'm still working on that. When I was talking to you guys, when he was talking about that burning, right, and coming from both sides, like I'm still in that, but he has you in multiple places at a time. So that's why I'm saying, like, it doesn't just end. So let's skip down where he talks about, I'm just going to read this part. Is there a greater degree of attainment than the ability to create or reproduce oneself? This is accomplished by means of the reproductive system and the endocrine system working together in their capacities and forming an inseparable bond. The reproductive system never forgets how to produce the same copy, and the endocrine system supplies the stimulus and substance for such copying or reproduction and maintenance. Now, he goes on, let's go to reproduction, because that's when he's going to talk to you about why it's necessary, what it's pointing up to. Okay, so on page 23, same area, 23. After Elohim had made the man, he's going to repeat a sentence of that and then change over. I want to get to the desire to know.
All right, where do you want?
First paragraph.
After Elohim had made the man Adam, and had taken the woman out of him, he told them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth.
Okay, and so we talk about this with the garden, and we talk about the fact, because, you know, when people get confused about why they had to be cast out, and we talk about the fact that he says, when you do eat, the day that you will eat, or I'm messing up the words, but in other words saying, I know it will happen. And so we always talk about the fact that they were not knowing each other in this way in the garden. So that's what he's getting ready to go into. Go ahead.
Now Elohim had already provided Adam and Eve with the necessary generative organs to accomplish this act of multiplying and replenishing the earth with other physical beings as themselves, and he had already instilled into their very nature to desire one another and to come together to reproduce.
So this desire to know. Think about when we look back at the beginning of the Elohim book, he talks about the fact that he instilled in us, the bride, a desire to know as well, right? He said he gave us the capabilities. Now, he meant mental capacity to learn of him, right? So they were given the physical organs to be able to reproduce. We were given the mental capacities to be able to bring about spiritual seed, right? So there they are. So we have this desire to know. So reproductive physically, but also desire to know spiritually. Go ahead.
When Eve was in Adam, there was no need for such a physical coming together, for they two were one flesh and one blood. For Adam was hermaphrodite, that is, he possessed both male and female counterparts within the body, being made in the likeness of Elohim and Yahweh. Yah is masculine, Way is feminine, and Elohim is a plural term, with the him meaning that the masculine counterpart was predominant over the feminine counterpart. Likewise, Adam was both male and female when he was formed from the dust of the earth. Genesis.
Oh, it's okay. So I'm gonna move forward with it quickly. Okay. So he talks about the fact that they were separated, as we are. That appeal, like you were talking about that veil, right? And so we have to be united, right? That veil has to be rent in twain in order for us to bring about spiritual seed. Okay, so this whole reproduction, what he says in here, and I'll see if I can find it quickly. Oh, here we go. Let's go down to this part. He says, therefore, the whole process of human reproduction is vital to the purpose of Yahweh, for it sets up a type and shadow of the spiritual reproduction or rebirth. And furthermore, there is contained in this process of reproduction all the divine wisdom and knowledge and intelligence that one could desire, that is, if one is able to understand it. And he says it is rather ironic to see how man has in past generations played down the matter of sex education and a knowledge of our reproductive organs, whereas Yahweh has hidden therein the mystery of his purpose and plan, as he has done in all of his creation. So funny enough, one of our research areas, we've actually looked at the curriculum, and this is still a big deal because there are very few states who actually have a very broad sex education curriculum to date. Like it is still something that is not talked about. And whoopee, I had the wonderful privilege of teaching sex ed for 8 years and to teenagers. And so I can tell you, it's interesting. You think about that. who gets that education and who does not get that education. And if you think about the physical ramifications of that, not understanding how your reproductive system works, not understanding what you are going through and experiencing, right? So again, like what you were saying, those knowledge parallel. And so what I really was looking at, because you don't know when the bell's going to ring, what I was looking at is everything. All you have to do is take something like reproduction, take something like the process of having a child, of being a woman. Lisa was already talking about menopause, and so there, if you look at a woman and you look at that reproductive process, you have it going across the dispensations and ages chart, right? And if you look at, in the Elohim book, there's another part that talks about the carnal ordinances and how the carnal ordinances are fulfilled in the process of childbirth, right? So I can go dispensations and ages. I can go fulfillment of carnal ordinances. I can look at reproduction itself. My kids loved it when I did this. I got to teach them Shakespeare and sex ed in 2 blocks. So it was always fun because Shakespeare, there's actually a lot of sex in Shakespeare. But anyway, there is. So there's this French term, la petite mort. Anybody know that one? What is it? What is it? It's the little death, right? So we're doing death, burial, resurrection here, okay? Well, the little death is another term for a sexual orgasm, right? It's the little death. That's what the French people call it, okay? So there is your death. And without that death, there is no seed for the burial, right? And so then we have that resurrection. So that seed is buried in the womb, and then we have that resurrection as that child comes to be, right? And so when you look in the Elohim book, if we go in there, they also talk about, we'll do the penis and the testes quickly. They talk about that being the rod, and they talk about the 2 witnesses, right? And how you have the law and the prophets represented. And then they talk about the clitoris, the urethra, and the vagina. And they talk about the, let me do it in order, the spirit and the water and the blood that's represented there, right? So you see, all of these principles are coming out if you're looking at reproduction. Then they also talk about the fact that let's go to page 26 when they talk about that flesh. I'm still in the same volume. I'm on page 26. Oh, because the other thing that they do is they talk about actually how it all goes according to this pattern. And so when they talk about that blood, water, and spirit, they talk about the fact that your witness is in the earth. And so then they talk about that woman in
Bottom of 26.
yeah, I'm looking for the labia. You see that anywhere? It's just popping out.
Yeah, that's the bottom of 26, last paragraph. The mounds of fatty tissue.
Yeah, and it talks about liken unto the earth. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. This hole in the ground. The heaped up mounds. There we go.
Mm-hmm. Before that, it talks about the blood and then the water.
You want me to read that part too? In our description. So go ahead. It's fine. So go start at in our description.
In our description.
I was trying to go quickly. It's okay.
In our description of the female external parts, we spoke of 3 prominent structures which have great significance when applied spiritually. 1, the vaginal orifice or opening emits blood every month during a woman's childbearing years. 2, the urethral opening emits water, which passes out from the bladder. And 3, the clitoris is the seat of nervous or sexual excitability, signifying spirit. So we have our threefold witness that the Apostle John spoke about operating in the earth plane, the blood, the water, and the spirit. The heaped up mounds of fatty tissue known as the labia majora with the vaginal opening situated within the fold signify the grave with heaped up mounds of earth on either side, and it shows the pit from which every one of us was dug, for we were born out of the vagina, except of course in cesarean section cases. We come forth from this hole in the ground. Remember, the flesh is the earth, and when we die, we return to this hole in the ground, the grave, is stated in Ecclesiastes 3:20. Similarly, the act of procreation, the male plants or buries his seed in this hole in the ground,
So that's your burial.
and in the space of 9 months, he receives from this spot not the same seed that he planted, but a live infant made in the likeness and image of himself.
Mm-hmm.
The Apostle Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians 15:35-38, but some will say, how are the dead raised up, and with what body do they come? Thou fool, that which thou sowest is not quickened, except to die, and that which thou sowest not that the body that shall be, but bear grain. It may chance of wheat or of some other grain, but Elohim giveth it a body as it hath pleased him, and to every seed its own body.
Okay. All right. And so then they go on and they do it for every part. They talk about the fallopian tubes and everything else. But I'm going to, I don't want to take up all of the time. So if we go on to page 28, this is when he talks about that ascending and the descending, right? And so, like I said, this has just always been beautiful to me. And I'm giving highlights because he talks about the breast and he talks about the tree of life. When you look at those, how it branches off in there, and then we've talked before about those breasts being representative of the law and the prophets, and so I mean there. What more could you ask for? But again, he has to give you an appreciation for it, So that's the thing. It's all there. It's all there. It's all there. There's nothing that escapes this pattern. He tells us that all the time, and he goes into such great detail. Because I reference this book a lot, Dr. Allen was talking about how this textbook came to be. And Chuck, you may know, he was talking about the fact that when Dr. Kinley was creating this, how essentially when they were making the different sections, that there were also lectures that were going along with it. So if you were there during that time, then you kind of witnessed to the fact that the lectures attested to what was going into the Elohim book. Yeah. Go ahead. I didn't tell you what I want you to read.
Yep.
Then at birth, let's go just that last paragraph right
Then at
there.
birth, the fetus descends and is born into the world and begins to grow up, ascend in the world. And throughout his youth and early adulthood, the child is in the fruition or bloom of his life, but as advancing age sets in the downward trend begins to be manifested again. The Middle Ages, 50 to 70 years, signify his presence in the holy place, and after 70 signifies his presence in the outer court, with death ensuing and his return back to the dust of the earth from whence he came. Genesis 3:19, Ecclesiastes 3:20. But the story does not end here, for whether we believe it or not, there is a resurrection of the dead.
So there is this physical journey, but for us, right, it does not end there, okay? And that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing with this renting of the veil, is understanding why we are here, is having access to him and understanding we're here to serve him. And this was the thing too, because this is why I should have gone to the fallopian tube, but we won't. He said he built this tabernacle to dwell among them, right? But this tabernacle to dwell among us, right? And so here it is. Not only am I here revealing to you and assisting you and understanding, but it's testifying to everything, and that is where it gets really overwhelming for me, is that you can carry this you talk about line upon line, precept upon precept. You can run this so many different ways. You can talk about you can talk about the 9 major vessels and how they align with the body. You can talk about how they align with the planet. You know, you can decide. I mean, there's just so much, just like what Tara was talking about. And I looked at this chart because I was looking at the 1958 video. They translated it. And when he goes through that, Dr. Kinley goes through that and he walks through this, you really do understand the organization that went into this chart, and how if you follow all of these events down here, right, like we were talking about the days of creation, and we were talking about that darkness and that light, like if you follow all of this, then it's like you're like, oh wow, you know. And I look at this, I told my mom, I said, I think about this like a brain, and it's like different parts of it start to light up, you know, as he brings clarity for you as to what it's representing, you know. And he has us all in that phase where it's like lights are just going off, and then you're like, because he is that light, he is that understanding. And so, you know, like for me, coming out of English and dealing with symbolism and motifs and everything else, I mean, this is just, like you said, knowing what to look for. If I tell my kids oh, we're talking about reproduction. Shakespeare's big on phallic symbols. Every sword is something, right? And so then they're like, phallic symbols, okay, you know, let's but you get what I'm saying? It's like I give them the pieces. Like he says, love is a smoke made with the fume of sighs. Well, I've already told them that Shakespeare, he's a bit hesitant to believe in this thing called love. So they're like, wait, Miss Roberts, what is the love's made with, smoke made with the fume of sighs? Oh, he's saying it's a bunch of, it's talk and heavy breathing, you know, like, so they know what to look for when they go into the text, because I've outlined for them, here are his major themes. Here's what he likes to do. Here's what he likes to say. And it's the same thing that Yahweh does for us. And so like you said, no matter where you go in the Bible, you're seeing those 40s, and you're seeing, it's just all popping out to you. And it's beautiful because now you have this map, you have this pattern to follow, and that's real. Like that's how you know you have a real creator, because it's not haphazard, you know. And so it does. It's like, what? Well, you know, it's like in that movie when you hear the, oh, you know, it's like that, you know, but it's not fake. It's not dramatic. It's real, you know. So I'm sorry. Just as one last sentence, and then I'll sit down. This is it. Where is it?
I was in the middle. But the story
Yeah, but we're going to have to skip. Here it is. This complete, so you know you go up and down in your life. That's that part, okay? So it says, this completes the last downward and upward manifestation according to our pattern. And whether one is conscious of this or not, he is on a steady journey throughout his whole life. Yes, even before he is born in the world. And after he has died, the journeying goes on according to the will of Yahweh, or the pattern. And so consciousness, that is what we are here for. And whether it comes out on the floor, or it comes out when you're sitting at home on the couch or in the car or wherever, we just want the veil rent in twain. We just want to be one with him. We want reproduction, right? What they were talking about, that joining back, coming back. He said that was the whole point. They were divided, right? And then we come back, right? We talked about this being a full circle. I just want to complete the cycle, right? So it's okay. Sonia can get up on the floor and who knows what happens. But if he blesses me with eternal life, if I am serving him in righteousness, that's what it's about. Because abolishment, I'm sorry, I am getting down, Joel, I'm sorry. That was the other thing. Well, because no, these words are huge, because you guys know I taught African American Lit, and so I thought about it, and I was thinking about that word abolishment, you know, and the abolitionists. We are abolitionists. You know, do you get what I'm saying? Because the whole point is there's liberty. Go back to what we were reading. Was it in 2 Corinthians? That's when you talk about your ambassadors, that's what that's about. You know, he says that there is liberty, right? Freedom. We're bringing freedom. We are freeing people of everything in this world that has put them into bondage, you know? And so we are those abolitionists. You know what I'm talking about?
3:17. 2 Corinthians 3:17. Now Yahweh is spirit, and where the spirit of Yahweh is, there is liberty.
Keep going.
Is that what you want?
Mm-hmm.
But we all, with open face, beholding as in a glass the glory of Yahweh, are changed into the same image from glory to glory, even as by the Spirit of Yahweh.
We're changing to that same image. I think if you go down, I think it says something about us serving Him. Where are we? Are we right in here?
13.
Is
She
it
just
13?
read right here. 13?
Read 12 and 13.
12.
He said read 12 and 13.
And not as Moses, which put a veil over his face, that the children of Israel could not steadfastly look to the end of that which is abolished. But their minds were blinded. For until this day remaineth the same veil untaken away in the reading of the Old Testament, which veil is done away in the Messiah.
So you have to. We have to be, again, we have to be one with Him. And there was this other part that she had read where it was talking about all that they saw was Yahweh. That was it. That was all that they saw. And so we go here, the way, the truth, and the life. This is tunnel vision. All that you are seeing is Yahweh. That's where you have to be in order to win this race, so to speak, right? And so that's it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's it. And so I hope you got something out of that. And you know, it is. We come in here and we are each other's stability. I am selfish. I don't like to spend time with people who are not about this. I'm sorry. That's something I need to work on. I don't have the patience for it. You know, and I know I'm not supposed to be that way. I know I'm not supposed to be that way, but it's distracting for me. And, you know, like you said, if you see all of this and you have such a great appreciation for this, you know, I'm not going to give the example that I'm thinking about, but you want to be able to. Okay. My mom, we used to have this conversation. This was about men. This is that teenage stuff. And so her whole thing was that if appreciation comes with people, like in order for something to work out, people have to be able to appreciate you. They have to be able to value, really it's value. You know, they have to see that what you possess is something of value. You know, I'm talking spiritually. Yeah, we didn't have anything physically for them to value. So that wasn't it. You know, there were no riches. But right. Spiritually. And so if the essence of who I am is this gospel, is Yahweh, and because this is the interesting part, people don't understand that what they're being drawn to is Yahweh manifesting in you. And sometimes they try to take you away from that and don't understand that that's what's drawing them to you. It's really funny, right? But so then it's like you think about, well, what are we talking about? What are we conversing about? What do we have here if you can't see, if we don't have the same value system, which is you seeing and acknowledging and intercoursing with Yahweh in me. you know? And so whether that's a boyfriend, a husband, a wife, whatever, or just people out in the world, no, we're not supposed to be dismissive of everybody, you know? And so like I said, that's something I have to work on, you know, is the patience and the understanding of it. But you get it. There's a point in every conversation where there's a disconnect. You know, it can't go beyond that point because you guys aren't in the same place. You don't have the same value system. I remember I went on this date and I tried to show him the whys in the trees, and I tried to help him to see the waves, and and he had to make a decision. Like, dang, you know, is it worth all this? You know, but do you get what I'm saying? It's not, you know, and that's me having fun with it, but it gets serious at moments, you know. It gets really serious, especially when, to console you, the only thing I have to offer is what Yahweh has given me. And so that's the really important time. It's in that time of need. It's when I need to be lifted up. You're going to hear me speak from what Yahweh has given me. And what am I going to hear back from you? You know? And I'm not trying to be funny, you know what I mean? But that's real. And so that's where you see, you know, the great divide, right? You do, you see it. All right, see, I said I was done. I'm sorry. I need a bell, Joel. I'm used to like a bell in school. I'm sorry. All right, I'm sitting down. My apologies. I got my.
Thank you. Ooh, and our next speaker this evening will be Dr. Judith Turner. Tonight, I should say. Well,
Oh, I'm going to just do this.
yep.
It's all right. It's fine by me. All right. Let's do that metacognition business because, yeah. You know, all professions have these, like, really fancy words to them. They really do. So, but let's look up cognition first. And by the way, it's been a very enjoyable. I think we can all agree that this night was a fruitful night to come out. Fruitful, you know. Cognition. It's right there. Cognition. And being cognitive. But metacognition is the word that we use, like Sonia says in education. Yeah.
They're up there.
Oh, okay. I just want to, because I want to put something before this. Because, you know, it's talking about being metacognizant. And that always used to bother me when, you know, people would talk about that in our profession because of our profession. And this is a profession here. Okay, it's very much of a profession. Do you have that?
It's a C-O-G-I-T-A.
Cognition.
Knowledge.
Okay, so that's all cognition is. It's a fancy word for knowledge. To know. Okay?
The process of knowing in the broadest sense, including perception,
To perceive, perception.
memory, and judgment.
And judgment. All right, but we have this little word before it, or this little pronoun, if you will, meta. And we all know that we're a member of the Institute of Divine Metaphysical. Why? Because we try to learn things of our Creator, okay? Let's go to Luke, the 10th chapter, about the 21st verse. All things are given unto me.
Luke 10:21. In that hour?
I don't know if I called the
Oh, here it
verse
is,
right.
22. All things are delivered to me of my Father, and no man knoweth who the Son is, but the Father.
See, no man knows who the Son is, but the Father. Okay, why? Because the Father, or keep going.
And who the Father is, but the Son.
Because it's all, whether you're talking about Yahshua or whether you're talking about Yahweh, it's all beyond the veil of the flesh, okay? And that's what this meta means, beyond. Now, in education, when they talk about somebody achieving this kind of metacognition, it means you have obtained the knowledge in order to be able to utilize it, if you will, across disciplines, all right? And and it's amazing. I don't want to get into all, but it's like, if I'm going to do a really good observation and have the administrators come in and observe me, I've got this little chart, and 4 is I get it and I can apply it to other places or other subject areas, okay? 3 is I get it and I can teach it, all right? 2 is I get it, but I have a little, whatever. But the point is like, you truly, down here in this class, are the ones that truly are the metas, okay? Because you have obtained a knowledge that is beyond the veil of the flesh, okay? And you can apply and take anything in this creation, like Sonia was talking about, reproduction, and you can apply it to something that is beyond the veil of the flesh. In other words, beyond what you and I see with our physical eyes. We truly do perceive the creator of this stellar universe. And sometimes I don't think that we really necessarily understand or really have a grasp on that until we have such wonderful lectures like the lecture tonight. Okay? That is a phenomenal experience. Now look it, you were talking about, and I don't have time, but you went into the 3rd chapter of or 3rd book, and you started out in page 14, and it was talking about, and this has always kind of bugged me. It's not, when we first came down here, we had, I don't even know, what chart did we have? We did not. Did we paint this? Oh, I think maybe we did. I don't even know anymore. But all these, we didn't have these charts. We had to paint them. All right? So, but the attributes here of Yahweh are not in the proper order. Okay? And it's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that. We can go. This is just a physical chart. We can go back here and we can change it. It's not a problem. All right? And even the way it's set up. And it made me think of that when Sonia was on the floor. Do you have that where she was talking about the attributes and how they were set up and they were all able to reproduce one of themselves? Oh my gosh. What am I doing? I don't even have time. No, it's just something I've been thinking about forever.
Each of these triads,
There you go, thank you.
which are united by a third, have therefore the power of self-procreation.
Why do they have the power of self-procreation? They have the power of self-procreation because they are the attributes of the creator of the universe, the creator of all things. All right, keep going.
Reproduction.
Keep going.
Each is therefore sufficient unto itself to reproduce and bring forth offspring. Thus, the duet of wisdom and knowledge being bonded together by intelligence give birth to love and justice, which are united together by...
Okay, so if you look in your textbook, and it's easy enough to check it out. At the the most holy place, we've got intelligence. And it's surrounded by, on this side, with wisdom. And you can look and see how, we've got a little bit different there. I don't want to say wrong. We did our best. We really did. All right. And in here I've got a little smiley face. All right. And then, oh, wait a minute here. And this is what's really interesting. That's why it would be really cool. We're talking about the days of creation. And, the tabernacle is set up slightly different. Okay, you had a smaller head, smiley face, and here are the arms. All right. So, and in the holy place, we still have beauty is in the center. And read that for me, please.
Thus the duet of wisdom and knowledge being bonded together by intelligence give birth to love and justice, which are united together by beauty.
Love, and look at how beautiful it is to be in love. Look at how beautiful it is to see justice served. All right? How beautiful it is to be justified. I mean, this is beautiful, okay? And intelligence, wisdom. Oh, I can't even. Okay, and then look at. All right, and then we've got foundation. Keep going.
This particular phenomenon displays the self-sufficiency of Yahweh. He is all in all.
Keep going.
Masculine and feminine potencies within himself. Consequently, he doesn't have to rely on anything outside himself.
He doesn't have, because it's all right there within himself. And all this tabernacle is this taking on shape and form in that tabernacle. That's why it's so beautiful that all things are made according to that tabernacle. And it does not matter if you're talking about the reproductive system or if you're talking about a tooth. Okay? It all goes according to the pattern. It doesn't matter if you're talking about your life. That's why, look at your life. Your life has been made, your steps have been walked by your Creator itself. Go and get me, oh my gosh. Look I only have the foolish person right now. I'm telling you, this thing is old. See how it's falling apart? Proverbs 26:6. This is a fool.
Proverbs 26:6. He that sendeth a message by the hand of a fool cutteth off the feet.
See, cut it off the feet. Now look at your feet. If you look in the textbook, all the attributes are in the holy place and the most holy place. And in the court round about, your feet are in the kingdom. All right? Let's see if I can find one. Shoot. Okay, try Psalms 40:2.
Psalms 40:2. He brought me up also out of a horrible pit, out of the...
And we were talking about a pit, were we not? And we were not brought up, and this is, we can see beyond the flesh. That we were all brought up out of a pit. Now look I have 4 of these here. I also have the mystery of iniquity. They don't rely on their feet. They rely on their head. And the feet of the righteous man. Does anybody know where that is anywhere? See, in a child, when it comes down, it's brought up out of the pit, and then what happens? It's brought up right. Right? It comes down out of the pit, and it's brought up right. But this whole world, and you look at that Daniel chart, what is flailing up in the air? Their feet and the head with the crown. I should not have started this. I'm sorry. Look at our foundation. What? Okay. Our foundation is... Okay, let's do that. Thank you, Joel.
How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him that bringeth good tidings.
And I think it's all over. But that's a beautiful one. How beautiful are the feet that bring good tidings. And our feet we walk according to Yahweh's purpose, Yahshua's purpose, whereas this world walks according to its intelligence. That's part of what bugs me about being in. That's probably what bothers you too. You can't handle they just love to spew their intelligence. And it's not with any type of a purpose behind it. Right. There's one thing to know and have knowledge or whatever, but if it's not going anywhere metaphysically, it just lies flat. Okay? Oh. And this is it's beautiful because you think, and I was just thinking of, like, look at the Catholic Church, and I'm having this. If we look at it, see, they're not metaphysical at all. They're in the physical, right? Okay, so their most holy place is down here. Okay, I'm going to try to draw upside down, and then they've got their and then they've got this part like that. All right, so basically what comes out, which is in Yahweh's purpose anyway, like we talked about the birth, but they never right themselves, okay? So they're walking on their heads. They're walking on their intelligence. Look at the Catholic Church, their foundation, they're the foundation of all of Christianity. I'm just going by my notes right now. And then I'm going to sit down because I think I've opened a ball of whatever, but it's... Sonia did a phenomenal job. And she just made me think of this. They're the foundation of all Christianity. And I teach that, It was the Catholic Church first. I hate it. In my textbook, it says the church. And I say, no, it's the Catholic Church. I want them to know that was the first formal Christian religion. And that after everything comes off of it, right? And they have all the pageantry, all the cathedrals, and somebody last week or whatever Sunday was talking about the Middle Ages. Okay, 1,000 years of dark ages, and a lot of people think of it as terms of the fact that we had the bubonic plague during that time. A third of European population died during that plague. But most scholars will say the reason why it was called the Dark Ages is because knowledge was quelched, period. Suppressed. Oh, lack of... You tell me what? Okay? They did not translate any of the ancient texts. The only texts that they would translate are the texts that they felt were religiously relevant. All right? So all the Iliads, all the Odysseys, all the Aeneads, none of that stuff got translated. All right? It's amazing. But anyway, so their beauty that they have is all their pageantry. I'm talking about over here. All right? And then the Pope. At the time that I was doing this, we had I think John Paul II, so it's gone away. And that man was intelligent. Okay, he had all kinds of different languages that he learned and that sort of thing. All right? But the point is, getting back to what Sonia was talking about, all of these have the ability to reproduce as long as they're put in the proper perspective or perception. All right? And the knowledge is a knowledge of Yahshua himself. It's that simple. That simple. All right? It's not any of this convoluted stuff that people are scared. You're scared to go to class because, I'm so stupid. No, it's the knowledge of Yahshua the Messiah. Yes. That's what we're going for, and I thank you for the time.
So I'd like to just remind everybody, we're $350 short of the rent. It's due tomorrow, so if you can pitch in, it'd be appreciated.
Phenomenal. Reminder classes are held here every Wednesday from 7 to 9 and every Sunday from 11 to 1. We can all rise to be dismissed. Now unto him who is able to keep us from falling and to present us faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy, to the only wise Elohim, our Savior, through Yahshua the Messiah, our Sovereign, belong glory and majesty, dominion and power, both before all time and now and ever. Let us all say, Hallelujah.